Hello everyone, Duchess here, and I'm back with another video. In this edition, I am coming to you with a couple of sewing pattern and pattern book hauls. On the left, I acquired two booklets and a pattern from a seller here recently. And on the left would be this Vogue pattern book from 1950. Actually, it's the October-November 1950s edition. And this book is a great resource book for 1950s garments. And I know that there are a lot of people out there who just adore that decade and that period. And so this would be ideal for anyone who is into the 1950s. But what I found especially remarkable about this book was there is an article here, Fabric Wise Portfolio, and it matches up some 114 garments with specialized fabrics that would be best for those garments. And it has several pages, and it shows you all the different garments and the fabrics that would be best with them. And here you have jersey, sheer, and woolens. You have gabardine and flannel. Then you go to tweed, chinchilla, fleece. And then there's suede and surface woolen. Then you have crepes and satins. And you have velveteen, and you have corduroy. So this was just, then there's a velvet, and then you have lace. This is just a great resource book, as I said, for anyone who is into the 1950s, who wants some inspiration on making any type of garment that they'd like. This, for me, will be a great resource manual, although I do have a lot of 1950s patterns in my vintage collection, sewing pattern collection, but it always is always good to have everything in one place, and you can just take a look at everything and just get some inspiration from the pieces. Further into the booklet is an article for the Paris original models, and in this booklet it features top designers like Jacques Fifth and Elsa Schiaparelli. I'm probably not pronouncing her name correctly, but if I'm not, I hope someone out there will correct me. But she was one of a few female fashion designers at that time, especially between the 1920s and 1930s, that could compete on the same level as Coco Chanel. In fact, they were rivals, and their rivalry is legendary. So some of her pieces are just extraordinary, and they're just beautiful. And she was ahead of her time. She was out of the box in a lot of her ideas, and her ideas are just admired even to this day. She closed her couture house in 1954, and it was revived again in 2013. So you can find some of the fashion shows here on YouTube if you're interested in her work and interested in her. But she was the first female fashion designer to grace the cover of Time magazine, and this was in 1934. She also has a pattern line out there, and a jewelry line, clothing line, that sort of thing. So she was able to cover all her bases in the fashion industry. So she's really worth looking into if you're interested in her. And her sewing patterns are actually under the Paris original designs, and they were produced through the McCall's company, the Paris Pattern Company, and I believe there is one other. I can't think of the name right now, but there is one other that her patterns were produced by. Another treasure in this manual is this article called The Little Fur, and it shows all the different ways that furs could be worn around the 1950s. And here the model has fur cuffs on around her upper arm, and she's wearing that with a strapless cocktail dress. And then this model is wearing a fur muff, and then you have another with a fur stow, one with a hat, and another with a wrap. So this is a great resource manual for anyone who is interested in the 1950s like myself, and I definitely will be referring back to this booklet. The downside is that whomever owned this booklet, there's child scribble here down on the front of it. So I don't know whether to think of that as adding to the value or taking away from it, but anyway, those things happen. The next piece in that haul was a 4-page booklet, Vogue booklet, and this features designs from Levant, who was one of a major designer in the 1950s. And this booklet too, just like the Vogue booklet, has a wealth of information on the different fashions in the 1950s. You have evening gowns, coats, suits, you name it. And it's just a really nice manual, and I'm really glad that I got that. And it has the suits here, and they have coats. The biggest surprise in this haul was this 1950s Modes Royale sewing pattern. And I wasn't even aware that the pattern was even in the booklet until I got home. And this just I just was blown away, because these patterns are highly collectible, and they can run up into the $200 to $300 depending on the style and the complexity of the pattern. So these are highly collectible, and I would encourage anybody who's interested in the complexities and the intricacies of these types of patterns to get them. Some of the characteristics of the Modes Royale patterns were the exaggerated cuffs, collars, the tapered waist. Basically, that was, to fit the curves of a woman's body. So this is a great resource to have, and I'm really happy I got it. So essentially, I got the pattern free for what I would have paid had I gotten this off of, say, eBay or Etsy or someplace else. So that was really nice. And the second haul included a set of 11 patterns, and I got them, they came in different eras, but I got 3 patterns for children's, and so I got one for infants here, one for toddlers, and another for young girls. And I do have a small collection of children's patterns, so I'm pretty excited about that. Here I got a 1930s 2-piece suit, peplum top and skirt from Advance. Next, I got a Hollywood pattern featuring Jane Wyman, who was a famous actress and who is now gone. This is just a beautiful gown. I'm pretty excited about it. I'll get a little closer so you can see what the film was that she was in at the time. But this is a good promotional tool for big name stars and even those who weren't as well known, to have your name on and your image on the front of a pattern. And this just opened up so many doors for especially those actresses who weren't as well known and were just getting started. But I just put my little notation here of what that is. So just for me to go into my collection and for me to look over in the future. I do plan on doing a tutorial on, or actually a video on the Hollywood patterns, because I have quite an extensive collection on them. So look out for that. The next pattern is a Modes Royale, and this is the 1950s, and you can see all the detailing on the back of the dress. It has buttons that run down on the back of the dress, and then you have a single pocket on the front. And I essentially got this free because I did not pay that much for the entire collection, and so I'm just winning in so many ways with the patterns because and again, this would be a very highly collectible pattern and quite expensive. Here is a 1950s, and actually 1959 Vogue pattern for an evening dress. And as you can see, the skirt is very billowy, and that might be something that I'll do in the future, a tutorial on that. And this is a 1950s dress from Advance, and a cute little ensemble for a young woman from Advance, and that's from 1950s. Here is another Advance pattern, and this is from the 1960s, and that's a two-piece suit, and that's very nice. And last but not least, I got a pattern from Quick Sew, and this is for the slacks, and you can see that they are bell-bottom pants, and so that's a style that I like a lot. So I'm very, very happy with these two hauls, and the pieces that I was able to acquire. Some were happy accidents and very unexpected. So I did rather good, I would say, and I didn't pay that much for all the pieces. So I just wanted to share that with you, and I thank you so much for watching the video, and we will see you next time. God bless and take care. Bye-bye.